Alex Carter stood on the edge of the launch platform, staring at the massive starship humming with energy. The alien craft loomed above them, a vessel so impossibly sleek it seemed to cut the sky itself. Around them, a crowd of Earth's brightest minds and most powerful leaders cheered, but Alex felt more like a sacrificial lamb than a hero. Humanity's first representative at the Vraxen Prime Institute of Combat Excellence? They must be insane. Alex Carter, the holographic announcer's voice boomed over the crowd, the youngest ever candidate to join the galaxy's most elite combat academy. A human. Unprecedented, unthinkable, and now undeniable. The cheers swelled louder, but Alex barely heard them. The words unthinkable and unprecedented kept echoing in their mind, not as compliments but as warnings. The galaxy didn't respect humanity, they barely tolerated it. And now Alex, a 17-year-old from a small Earth town, was about to be hurled into an academy filled with beings genetically engineered for battle. What could possibly go wrong? The boarding ramp extended, and Alex's heart raced. They adjusted the strap of the duffel bag slung over their shoulder, took a deep breath, and started walking. Every step felt heavier than the last. This wasn't just their future at stake, it was Earth's reputation. The ship's interior was even more intimidating. The walls pulsed faintly with an organic glow, like the ship was alive. Alex's escort, a stern-looking alien with metallic skin and 6 glowing eyes, led the way without a word. They passed rows of towering alien cadets, some reptilian, others insectoid, a few with forms Alex couldn't even begin to describe. Every one of them stopped to stare, their expressions ranging from curiosity to outright disdain. "Is that it?" a deep, guttural voice rumbled. "That's the human?" "Looks fragile," another snorted, its voice clicking like insect mandibles. Alex clenched their fists but kept walking. They dealt with bullies before, though never ones with claws and venom sacs. The escort stopped abruptly in front of a massive doorway, gesturing for Alex to enter. Inside was a cavernous room filled with combat arenas, training equipment, and holographic displays. The air buzzed with the sounds of sparring and shouted commands. At the center stood a group of instructors, each more imposing than the last. Carter, the lead instructor, a towering reptilian with scales like molten metal, growled. "You're late." Alex opened their mouth to respond but was cut off. "Save it. Humans talk too much anyway. Let's see if you can fight." Before Alex could protest, the reptilian pointed to one of the training rings, where a hulking quadruped alien with tusks and glowing armor waited. The crowd of cadets gathered, murmuring with anticipation. Alex swallowed hard. This wasn't an introduction, it was an execution. Still, they stepped into the ring, heart pounding but mind racing. Think. Fast. They expect brute strength, so give them something else. The match began with a roar. The quadruped charged, tusks gleaming, but Alex sidestepped at the last second, using the alien's momentum to send it crashing into the arena wall. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Alex didn't wait. They grabbed a discarded staff from the ground and spun it in an improvised arc, knocking the alien off balance. Cheers erupted, mixed with angry growls. Alex stood in the center of the arena, breathless but victorious. The lead instructor narrowed his eyes, his expression unreadable. "Well," he muttered, "maybe this human isn't as useless as I thought." The murmurs grew louder as Alex left the ring. One thing was clear, they had just made their first impression, and it wouldn't be forgotten. Alex Carter stood in the middle of the Vraxen Prime Institute's infamous reflex gauntlet, a cylindrical chamber lined with dozens of glowing drones. Each one hovered ominously, waiting for the instructor's signal to attack. "Begin," the instructor barked, his reptilian voice a gravelly snarl. The drones sprang to life, darting in erratic, unpredictable patterns. Their energy beams fired in rapid succession, a cascade of deadly precision designed to overwhelm even the most seasoned cadets. For most, survival in this simulation required years of training. Alex had none of that. The first bolt streaked toward their shoulder. Alex twisted their body, narrowly dodging it, the heat singeing their jumpsuit. Another shot came from above, and Alex rolled forward, narrowly avoiding the impact. Their mind raced, cataloging patterns in the chaos. The drones weren't random, they moved in sequences, a flaw in their programming. If there's a pattern, I can break it. Alex darted sideways, feigning a stumble. The drones adjusted, tightening their formation, but Alex had already anticipated the shift. In one fluid motion, they grabbed a discarded training blade from the floor and hurled it at the nearest drone. The weapon struck its core, causing it to spark and explode, disrupting the others. The gauntlet recalibrated, increasing its difficulty. Alex didn't wait for it to adapt. They sprinted forward, leaping onto the nearest wall. Using the momentum, they launched themselves over the drones, their hands brushing against the ceiling for extra leverage. A well-placed kick sent another drone spiraling into a cluster of its companions, the explosion lighting up the chamber. By the time the final drone powered down, the chamber was silent. The cadets watching from the observation deck were anything but. Did you see that? No one's ever cleared the gauntlet on their first attempt. And a human? Impossible. Alex stepped out of the chamber, drenched in sweat but grinning despite the stares. They were met by the imposing figure of Instructor Ralnix, his molten metal scales glinting under the fluorescent lights. His expression was unreadable, but the flicker of his orange eyes betrayed his annoyance, or perhaps grudging respect. "You think you're clever," Ralnix said, his voice low and sharp. "Using unapproved methods? Improvising instead of following the standard protocols?" Alex hesitated. "I thought the goal was survival, not adherence to tradition." The room fell silent. The cadets exchanged nervous glances, unsure if they should admire Alex's audacity or fear for their punishment. Ralnix stepped closer, his massive frame casting a shadow over Alex. "Survival isn't the goal here, Carter. Excellence is. And excellence comes from discipline, not tricks." He paused, his eyes narrowing. "But you've made your point." Dismissed. As Alex walked away, the whispers followed. They knew they'd made waves, and enemies. Their unorthodox performance had shattered a record and disrupted the rigid hierarchy of the academy. In the privacy of their quarters, Alex replayed the gauntlet's events in their mind, trying to decipher what felt so off. They weren't just reacting, they were predicting, almost as if their instincts were ahead of the simulation itself. Somewhere deep in their subconscious, a quiet question formed. What's happening to me? Alex Carter trudged through the dimly lit corridor of the academy's lower levels, their thoughts clouded by unease. The reflex gauntlet victory had catapulted them into the spotlight, and not in a good way. Whispers trailed them everywhere they went, a mix of awe and resentment. Even the instructors seemed divided, with some looking at Alex as a curiosity and others as a problem that needed to be dealt with. The hostility came to a head during the first tactical class of the week. Carter, barked Instructor VRYN, an insectoid alien with gleaming black carapace and serrated mandibles. Her 6 eyes narrowed as she gestured toward the holomap projected above the class. "Since you're so fond of breaking tradition, let's see if your human ingenuity can solve this." Alex approached the map cautiously, feeling the weight of every stare in the room. The scenario depicted a standard battlefield simulation, 2 armies locked in a stalemate, with the task being to devise a strategy to turn the tide. The problem was obvious to Alex immediately. The Academy's favorite strategies were too rigid, relying on brute force and predictable formations. They thought like soldiers, not tacticians. Alex studied the map for a moment, then made their move. They adjusted troop placements, diverting resources to a flanking maneuver and setting up a feint to draw the enemy into a trap. The class erupted in murmurs. "You call that a strategy?" scoffed a hulking reptilian cadet named Gorvok, his voice dripping with contempt. "You've split the forces. That's suicide." "Let's see," Alex said calmly, stepping back to let the simulation play out. The room fell silent as the battle unfolded on the holomap. The enemy took the bait, falling into disarray as the feint succeeded. Alex's forces encircled them with surgical precision, securing a decisive victory in record time. Instructor VRYN's mandibles clicked in what Alex assumed was irritation. Efficient. Unorthodox. But reckless. She waved a clawed hand dismissively. "Next time, remember this is a combat academy, not a game of strategy." Alex clenched their jaw but said nothing. They knew they'd proven their point, even if VRYN refused to admit it. Later that evening, Alex found their locker ransacked. Equipment was missing, their uniform shredded. A crude holographic message flickered on the wall, "Go back to Earth, human." Alex's fists tightened, but they forced themselves to breathe. This wasn't just bullying, it was a warning. As they cleaned up the mess, a familiar voice broke the silence. "Making friends already?" Alex turned to see Rika, one of the few cadets who'd shown them any kindness. The lithe, feline-like alien leaned casually against the wall, her emerald eyes glinting with amusement. "Looks like someone doesn't appreciate your record-breaking streak," Rika said, flicking her tail. "You've got their attention now. And not the good kind." Alex sighed. "Let me guess, more tests? More sabotage?" Rika nodded. "Welcome to Vraxen Prime." That night, Alex couldn't sleep. Their mind churned with questions. Why was their success so threatening? Was it just xenophobia, or something deeper? The answer came the next morning, delivered by a nondescript data pad left on their desk. It contained a single message. "You're not here by accident. Watch your back." Alex stared at the screen, their stomach knotting. Someone in the academy knew more than they were letting on, and it wasn't just about training anymore. It was about survival. Alex Carter leaned against the bulkhead of the observation deck, their eyes fixed on the sprawling expanse of Vraxen Prime. The academy's sleek towers stretched high into the alien sky, a symbol of galactic power and prestige. But beneath its grandeur, Alex could feel the cracks, a roiling undercurrent of secrets they were only beginning to uncover. The cryptic message from the night before had left Alex shaken. "You're not here by accident. Watch your back." Who had sent it? And why? Questions churned in their mind, but there were no answers. Not yet. The day's combat drills offered little solace. Alex was paired with Gorvok, the hulking reptilian cadet who had been one of their most vocal critics. As the sparring match began, Alex barely had time to dodge his first strike, a brutal, clawed swipe that could have easily broken bone. "Too slow, human," Gorvok sneered, circling like a predator. Alex stayed light on their feet, analyzing Gorvok's movements. He was strong, but his attacks were predictable, relying on brute force. Alex feinted left, then darted under his swing, landing a precise blow to his exposed flank. Gorvok roared in frustration, his tail lashing out in retaliation. Alex barely avoided it, rolling to the side and coming to their feet in one fluid motion. "Enough," barked Instructor Ralnix, stepping into the ring. His molten metal scales seemed to glow brighter as his gaze flicked between the two combatants. "Carter, Gorvok, out. Both of you." Alex bid back a retort but couldn't miss the flicker of approval in Ralnix's fiery eyes. As they left the ring, Alex noticed something odd. One of the academy's senior instructors, a shadowy figure named Krivak, was watching them intently from the far side of the training hall. His expression was unreadable, but the intensity of his gaze sent a chill down Alex's spine. Later that evening, Alex decided to confront their suspicions head-on. They accessed the Academy's data archives, a highly secure network reserved for instructors and senior cadets. Using a backdoor exploit they discovered during a systems class, Alex bypassed the security protocols and began sifting through files. What they found made their blood run cold. The Academy wasn't just a training ground. Buried in encrypted documents was evidence of a far more sinister purpose: experimental programs designed to create super soldiers for a coming conflict. The files detailed genetic modifications, secret tests, and disturbing references to accelerated potential in selected recruits. And there, in the middle of it all, was Alex's name. Their inclusion in the Academy wasn't a coincidence. Earth's recent entry into the Galactic Confederation wasn't just political, it was a test. Alex wasn't just a cadet, they were an experiment. A sudden noise made Alex freeze. Someone was outside their quarters. Quickly closing the files, Alex turned to face the door, their heart hammering. A shadow passed under the frame, and then a voice called out. "Alex? It's me, Rika. Let me in." Alex hesitated but opened the door. Rika slipped inside, her emerald eyes darting nervously. "You've been digging, haven't you?" she asked, her voice low. Alex nodded. "How much do you know?" Enough to tell you this, Rika said, her tone deadly serious. If they find out you've accessed those files, you're as good as dead. And trust me, they'll know. As Rika left, Alex sat in the dim light of their quarters, the weight of the revelations pressing down on them. The academy wasn't just dangerous, it was a powder keg. And Alex had just struck the match. The announcement blared across the academy's sprawling halls. Attention all cadets. The annual combat tournament begins tomorrow. Participation is mandatory. Victory earns access to the Grand Archives. The Grand Archives. Alex's heart skipped a beat. That was where the Academy's most classified information was stored. If they could win, they'd gain direct access to the secrets that could expose the Academy's true purpose and the reason they'd been brought here. But winning wasn't going to be easy. The tournament wasn't just a test of combat skills, it was a brutal gauntlet designed to push cadets to their limits. And Alex, despite their victories so far, was still the outsider. The arena was packed the next morning, cadets and instructors filling the towering stands. Alex stood among the competitors, their eyes scanning the field. The rules were simple: no alliances, no surrender. Every round would eliminate half the competitors until one remained. Dvorvak was there, grinning like a predator eyeing its prey. Rika stood a few paces away, her emerald eyes flicking to Alex with a look that was equal parts concern and determination. First round, the announcer's voice boomed. Survive the onslaught. Dozens of drones descended from the arena's ceiling, each armed with energy cannons and razor-sharp blades. The moment the starting signal sounded, chaos erupted. Alex darted left, narrowly avoiding a barrage of energy blasts. Around them, cadets fell one by one, overwhelmed by the relentless assault. But Alex's mind worked differently. They didn't just dodge, they analyzed. The drones followed patterns, just like in the reflex gauntlet. Leaping onto a fallen cadet's shield, Alex used it as a springboard to reach a drone. They grabbed hold of its frame, redirecting its fire toward a cluster of others. Explosions rippled across the arena, thinning the swarm. By the time the round ended, Alex was one of the few left standing. The next rounds tested different skills: strength, strategy, endurance. Each challenge was more grueling than the last. Alex found themselves facing not just the competition but the mounting hostility of the cadets who saw them as an anomaly, a threat to their superiority. In the penultimate round, Alex faced Dvorvak in direct combat. The reptilian cadet charged with raw power, his massive frame dwarfing Alex's. But Alex had learned to think 2 steps ahead. Using Dvorvak's momentum against him, Alex dodged, rolled, and struck with precision, exploiting the gaps in his heavy armor. The final blow came when Alex feinted left, baiting Dvorvak into overextending. With a swift kick to the back of his knee, Alex sent the towering cadet crashing to the ground. When the match ended, the crowd erupted in mixed reactions: cheers, boos, and stunned silence. Dvorvak glared at Alex as he was carried off the field, his pride more wounded than his body. The final round was a free-for-all among the last 3 competitors: Alex, Rika, and a silent, insectoid cadet with unnervingly fast reflexes. The arena shifted, transforming into a labyrinth of shifting walls and hidden traps. Alex and Rika exchanged a brief nod before the match began, an unspoken agreement to work together, at least for now. As the labyrinth descended into chaos, Alex's instincts guided them. They anticipated traps before they triggered, outmaneuvered opponents with split-second decisions, and used the environment to their advantage. In the final moments, Alex found themselves face-to-face with Rika. "You've earned this," she said quietly, lowering her weapon. "Do what you came here to do." When the tournament ended, Alex stood alone in the center of the arena. The Grand Archives were theirs to access. But as the crowd roared around them, Alex knew the real battle was just beginning. Somewhere in the shadows of the academy, those who controlled its secrets were watching. And they wouldn't let Alex's defiance go unchallenged. Alex Carter stood before the towering doors of the Grand Archives, their heart pounding. Beyond these doors lay the answers they had been chasing, the truth about the academy, its secret experiments, and their own purpose in being here. The crowd from the tournament had dispersed, and the arena was eerily quiet now. Alex was alone, save for the faint echoes of their footsteps as they approached the archive's biometric scanner. Access granted, the automated voice announced as the doors slid open. The chamber beyond was vast, lined with rows of glowing data conduits and holographic displays. Alex stepped inside, the air humming with a faint, almost sentient energy. They approached the central console, their fingers hovering over the interface. Where to begin? Alex muttered. They entered a query: Carter, Alex, selection criteria. A stream of data appeared, and Alex's breath hitched. The files confirmed their worst fears. The Academy had specifically recruited them as part of Project Nexus, a covert initiative to identify and manipulate individuals with latent genetic or neurological traits. The goal was to create a new generation of warriors, beings who could think and adapt faster than any known species. Alex wasn't here because of a lucky selection or Earth's growing relevance. They were here because someone had seen potential in them, potential that was now being exploited. But the more Alex dug, the darker the revelations became. The experiments weren't confined to training cadets. The Academy's leadership, under the guise of the Galactic Confederation, was using the tournament to test advanced weaponry and psychological manipulation techniques for a coming war. Coming war? Alex whispered, scrolling further. The files revealed encrypted communications between high-ranking officials. The Academy wasn't just preparing for battle, it was preparing to ignite one. The Confederation's leadership believed that uniting the galaxy under one rule required a common enemy, and Earth was being positioned as a scapegoat. Alex's hands trembled as they closed the files. The implications were staggering. They had been brought here not just as a recruit but as a tool in a galactic power play. A soft sound behind them broke the silence. Alex spun around, their heart racing. Rika emerged from the shadows, her emerald eyes serious. You found it, didn't you? How did you? I followed you, she interrupted, her voice quiet but firm. I had to be sure you'd see it for yourself. Alex stared at her, realization dawning. You knew. All this time. Not everything, Rika admitted, stepping closer. But enough to know the Academy isn't what it seems. I've been trying to piece it together, but you were the missing link. Alex shook their head, frustration bubbling to the surface. They're going to use us, Rika. All of us. And Earth will be the spark that starts the fire. Not if we stop them, Rika said, her voice hardening. The next hours were a blur of planning and whispered conversations. Alex and Rika knew they couldn't do this alone. They needed allies, and they found them in the unlikeliest places. Gorvok, humbled by his defeat in the tournament, agreed to help, as did a handful of other cadets who had grown disillusioned with the Academy's methods. The plan was simple but dangerous: expose the Academy's secrets to the galaxy. But doing so meant infiltrating the main control hub and broadcasting the files from the Grand Archives. The operation began under the cover of darkness. The group moved through the Academy's labyrinthine corridors, evading patrols and security drones. Alex's mind raced, their instincts sharper than ever. It was as if they could anticipate the guards' movements before they even happened. When they reached the control hub, the real challenge began. Rika and another cadet worked to bypass the security systems while Alex uploaded the files. The tension in the room was palpable, every second feeling like an eternity. Suddenly, alarms blared. The Academy's forces had discovered their intrusion. Keep going, Alex shouted as they drew a stolen weapon. The doors burst open, and a firefight erupted. Alex moved with a precision that surprised even them, dodging blasts and taking out guards with unerring accuracy. Their allies fought fiercely, holding the line as the upload neared completion. Finally, the console beeped. Broadcast complete, Rika said, a note of triumph in her voice. Alex turned to see the data stream spreading across the galaxy, reaching every corner of the Confederation. The Academy's secrets were out, its leaders exposed for their schemes. But their victory came at a cost. As the last of the guards fell, the room filled with the sound of approaching reinforcements. We have to go, Rika yelled, pulling Alex toward an escape route. As they fled into the night, Alex felt a strange mix of relief and resolve. The Academy's power had been broken, but the fight was far from over. The galaxy was waking up, and Alex Carter was ready to lead the charge.